Boston Celtics one game away from being swept in the Eastern Conference Finals. Tonight, they're 1.5-point underdogs against the Heat, and it is in Miami. That's according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Let's say hello and good morning to NBA champs and Celtics analyst Eddie House. Eddie, hello. What shot do you give your Celtics at winning tonight?
Good morning. Oh, it's not looking good for the home team. Reason being, I look at the games, how they were played twice. Celtics went up a substantial amount of points, and the Heat just walked them down. And the Celtics just don't look. They're not playing hard, and that's one thing about it. Just the Heat are playing way harder. I feel like the Heat look like they're the more prepared, the more disciplined, the harder playing team. And when you combine that with having Jimmy, so it looks like the Heat wants to just keep the game close, and then in the fourth quarter, Jimmy takes over. That wasn't needed in Game 3. I just don't like the body language from Game 3, the way that they lost. You know, they are live by a 3, die by the 3 team. And when the 3's not going in, they don't hang their hat on the defensive end like they did last year to give themselves opportunities to get out in transition. Everything's against a set wall against Miami. And you got to give Eric Spoelstra and the Miami Heat all the credit for having a game plan, sticking to the game plan, and executing the game plan. And to me, the only way that the Celtics are going to have a chance tonight in tonight's game for me, after watching the last 3 games, is they got to come out with a sense of control, desperation. They got to be the most desperate team out there.
I don't give them a chance to win out. I think it's going to end in a sweep because your 2 best players, who we call them the law firm, has been terrible. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are 7 for 40 on 3-point shots. They were 1 for 14 in Game 3. They've taken 116 shots. They combined for 128 points. They have 21 assists combined. They have 23 turnovers. And in the last game, 12 of 35 from the field, 1 of 14 from 3. In the series, Jaylen Brown is shooting 38% from the floor. He's 2 of 20 from 3. Your 2 best players, your 2 dogs got to lead. They've got to hunt. And you guys are on the porch. I mean, I just knew they were going to come out with a sense of desperation, a sense of urgency in Game 3. They came out like they were up 2-0. Turning the ball over with no sense of urgency, and in the blink of an eye, it was 15 points. The next thing you know, I'm looking up, it's 33. I said, well, okay, I can watch something else. Ain't nothing interesting about this. And they just turn it over, just turn it over. Yeah, look, I get it. You guys haven't played defense like you did last year, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown aren't playing offense like they played last year either.
What do you think, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm with you. There's no way you're going to win a game when you're 2 superstars. First off, you're all NBA players. 2 all NBA players combined for 26 points last game. Gabe Vincent outscored him with 29 himself. You'll never win a game that way. And your leaders have to lead. And it comes with – and so it's a two-way street because in the other 2 games, you know, Jason Tatum really wasn't scoring in the fourth quarter. He has to demand the ball. But then on him demanding the ball, I think Coach Joe Mazzulla has to find ways to get him the ball and put him in situations where he could get some easy baskets. The Heat are sticking to a game plan of they're not going to allow Jaylen or Jason to see any driving lanes. There are always boxes and elbows. There's always a helper there. If there's somebody that's supposed to be at the nail on the drive, there's somebody at the nail all the time. If they're going to trap, they're going to trap hard every single time. So you have to find ways to manufacture easy baskets for your superstars, and that's easier said than done, but we have the personnel to where he can create. You got passing bigs, a big that can put pressure on the rim. You got bigs that can step back and shoot threes, and Grant Williams. So I think it's a combination of both where, the players definitely have to step up, but your coach has to step in at some point and try to do whatever he can to help them. 2 for 22 from 3, that right there is showing me that there's a lot of settling. And there's no adjustment that's being made on the offensive end. And to me, so that some of that blame does fall on Joe Mazzulla as well.
So speaking of, Eddie, it was widely written, widely believed that team on Sunday night quit on Joe Mazzulla, the first-year head coach. Malcolm Brogdon said yesterday, we lost our defensive identity, which obviously was started last year mostly by Ime Udoka, who's now the Rockets coach. Do you believe they quit on Joe Mazzulla, and do you believe that because he's a 3-point or bust type teacher and coach, do you think they have lost their identity with Joe Mazzulla?
Well, this year, I don't even think they created a defensive identity. I think it has always been a live by the three, die by the three team. Watching them all season long, I was trying to figure out what their identity was, talking with Perk, talking with Scal, and it just hit me one day. I was like, we live by the three, die by the three. If the three's going in, it looks like we play pretty good defense. Yeah. If it's not going in, it looks like we let go of the rope. And that has been a trending statement that everybody on this team has said throughout the year. We just let go of the rope. In games that we lost, big games, or we let go of the rope, they go up big and end up losing, come back in the interview and say, oh, we let go of the rope. So that has been a trend. And I do believe that they quit a little bit on Joe. And I think Joe quit on them too. Yeah. If you got to think about the start of that fourth quarter, he didn't have his starters in. No. He basically said, hey, listen, if you guys aren't going to go out there and give me energy, I'll put some guys out there that will at least compete hard. Because, again, every 50-50 ball, guess who's coming up with it? Who diving on the floor for loose balls? Yep. Guess who's coming up with it? The Heat. And then the one other thing, when Grant Williams got into Jimmy Butler's face, I loved it. I thought it showed competitiveness. It showed fierce competitiveness. It showed no back down. But there was nobody else on the team that galvanized with him in that moment. And to me, and look, that's where I was like, it kind of scares me because everybody should have stepped up a level. And think about the Philly game when James Harden hit Jaylen Brown in the face. Jaylen Brown went to another level. I don't think you should have to get hit in the face per se for you to go to another level, but they're going to have to show a lot more fight than they have. I like what Grant Williams did, though.
I was bullish. Skip will tell you, I've been bullish on them. I said the Bucks and the Celtics are the two best teams in the East. And the Heat shut them down. The Heat beating the brakes off them. The Heat was in the play-in tournament, lost the first one to the Hawks, and was like 4 minutes away from losing to the Bulls. Yep. And now they're on the cusp of being the first play-in, an 8 seed, to make it to the NBA Finals. It's because Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum went 12 of 35 on Sunday. 1 of 14 from the three, with 6 turnovers between the two of them. How you gonna win? Malcolm Brogdon played 18 minutes, Eddie. I didn't leave my house on Sunday. We scored the same number of points. Now, one played 18 minutes in the game, one was sitting on his couch eating ice cream and chips. And he gonna talk about, we lost our identity. What identity? Hold on. Was Malcolm Brogdon there last year when they played defense? No. He wasn't there. No. So what identity is he talking about? Yep. You've always been this offensive-led team. Jason Tatum going good, Jaylen Brown going good, you win. When they struggle, you don't. What you mean defensive identity? You never had that. Your identity has always been avalanching people, blitzing people with Jason Tatum going haywire in a given quarter, Jaylen Brown going haywire in a given quarter, and you guys knocking down threes when they try to keep Jaylen Brown and Tatum from the paint. I'm confused, like, what identity?
They haven't had one on the defensive end all season long. You know what? They play in spurts defensively. Right. That's the one thing that they have done defensively. They play in spurts. They're not consistent with their defensive effort, with their defensive rules. And, you rattled off those numbers that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are struggling with. We got to give the Miami Heat credit. I played for the Heat 4 years, so I know what that Heat culture is like. A regular season is different. You don't have that opportunity to dive in deep into your opponent. Well, when the playoffs come, you're going to get a book about this thick right here. Yeah. And what you're going to have is every play that they run, every play they run for a player, you have every player's tendencies, and then you'll have some analytics thrown in there with what they do if they go left, if they go right, mid-range, three-point, from the corner, from the wing, from the top. And you'll get a DVD. Well, this is back then. We get a DVD that would show all of that. So whatever you wanted to see, you could study it and dive in. And that's the one thing about the team. You got to give credit to the Miami Heat for being disciplined.
All right, let's focus quickly on Jason Tatum. Shannon and I go back and forth about him. I think he is a great kid, a great face of a franchise, great role model. I love everything about him off the court. I don't always love him on because he is wildly inconsistent, especially with his three-point shot. I don't see consistent leadership from him. He's Durant-like to me in that he'd rather just hoop. He's not the guy who seizes control in the sideline huddles or on the floor. He's not a director of traffic. He's played 7 years now. He's finishing his 7th year in this league. At some point, you have to take over on the floor. I don't see that. Your reaction, Eddie?
Well, you got to remember, he's played 7 years in the league, but I think he's 25 or 26 years old. He's still super young kid, a young man. I think he leads in a different way. He talk about talent level, probably one of the most talented players that I've seen up close. 6'10" with the handle, can shoot the ball. He's got a lot better this year defensively and rebounding the basketball, being engaged, barring this particular series. But I think that he's super, super talented. And I have to agree with you on the fact that he leads in a different way. And he's not the leader, like get into your face type of guy. He's a guy that's going to go out there and try to do it by example and play. He's not extremely vocal. I'll say this. This is another thing I think that the team has to do. They got to stop complaining as much to the referees. Yeah. And it starts with Jason Tatum. Yeah. If he's the guy that says, hey, we're not talking to the referees no more, let's just play, I believe that'll be a trickle-down effect, and that would change the psyche and the mindset of this team. Now, I think it might be too late, but because, you're down 3-0. But at the same time, I think that to answer your question with Jason Tatum, he leads in a different way. I think he's super talented, but he has been inconsistent. The nights that he's locked in, as he's head and shoulders the best player on the court. The night that he come in and he kind of like wants to walk himself into the game, he's a different guy. It takes a while for him to get started.
Yep.
Tatum's averaging almost 28 points per game and 11 boards in these playoffs. Eddie, we're so glad you joined us. Thanks for the insight. We always love having you.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thanks for having me. You guys take care.
All right, guys, LeBron, you think he's going to be able to get one more title before he calls it quits? Let's get your predictions up next right here on